Well, I'm joined this morning by Toni Watola, Chief Operations Officer at Bristol Rovers Football Club. We've just heard the news, Tony, that the appeal has been unsuccessful against the Sainsbury's decision here. What are your initial thoughts? Obviously disappointment, I guess.
Well, yeah, it's disappointment when you think of the time, effort and finance that's gone into our appeal and the original judgment. It is disappointment, and clearly we felt we'd got a strong case. That's been turned down by the Court of Appeal. What we've now got to do is to look at that judgment and all the reasons they've given, and the lawyers will be looking at it to see whether there is a thought that we should take the appeal to the Supreme Court.
So is that possible to have one more step?
Let's be fair, it will not be an easy call. We'll have to get permission. As I understand it, our lawyers today have asked for permission to go to the Supreme Court. I've not heard whether there's been a judgment yet. My expectations will actually be turned down in the first instance, and we'll have to go direct to the Supreme Court to ask for permission. But it is possible. Legally, we need to get that request in quickly, otherwise it dies. And then during, I think we've got a 28-day period where we then have to make a decision whether to continue with it or not. And that clearly, with the new owners, their lawyers will be scrutinising the decision and coming up with a decision whether to take it forward or not.
I was going to say, you're the consistent factor, if you like, in all these processes now, aren't you? Do you feel the club had a fair hearing all the way through?
Yes, I do. And, clearly when we had the original judgment, the item that we fell down on, without wanting to go into all the legalese, we felt we'd got a damn good chance of turning that over. And I think the biggest disappointment has been that they've actually upheld that bit, and we still believe that bit of it's wrong. But clearly they're cleverer people than I am. So the lawyers are going to have to look at it and make a judgment, but it'll probably take them a couple of weeks before they do that, because it's new lawyers for the new owners.
In your opinion, then, it was worth a gamble to appeal. Was it a gamble?
It's always a gamble. I mean, it was never going to be a 100% decision that we were right, but the balance of probability we were given by our lawyers were that we got a better than 50-50 chance. Quite a bit better than that. Clearly they've failed. I think the other thing we've got to look at all of this is, whilst ever this was going on, it kept our options open with UWE. If we'd walked away and said that's it, we've lost, that would have put UWE in a difficult position, and we might not be sitting here today saying, well, we've still got the option that's available to the new owners to still develop the UWE site. So
the new owners will be involved in a process about deciding whether to take this a stage further, and also at the same time, I guess, still looking at another option, because we have to look to the future now.
No, absolutely. And I think, from the day that new owners took over, they were very clear that they still want to build the UWE Stadium, whether we win the Sainsbury's judgment or not. And so Lee Atkins, one of the new board members, that's his particular project. And I know that they're talking to financiers today in London to help with the construction of the stadium. So this is just one avenue that's closed off, but it doesn't mean this is the end of the UWE Stadium at all.
Yeah. It doesn't bear thinking about what might have happened had there not been new owners then. Was there a plan B for Rovers? Yes,
we did have a plan B. And I know people are going to criticise me now, because I'm going to say we've always had to keep that quiet, and we still do, frankly. But we did have a plan B. It might have taken us a couple of years to get to the right point with plan B, but we did have one. But we couldn't have put it in the public domain because of where we sat with Sainsbury's.
Now that decision has been taken and the new owner is looking at a new ground, what do you see as the future for this particular ground?
I'd rather not comment on that. I know what Plan B is, and it's not ready. It's not ready to go into the public domain.